So John, I know that I know that your co-founder at CEA, at the Center for American Entrepreneurship, is Ian Hathaway, who's also an expert on entrepreneurial ecosystem research and the author of a recent book, The Startup Community Way, with Brad Feld, the famous venture capitalist out of DC. I'm sorry, out of Boulder, Colorado. What do you think is the biggest takeaway from that book, and how can we apply the lessons in that book, or maybe that one particular lesson, to the work that we're doing here in Fort Worth?
Well, I think well, first of all, we're very fortunate to have both Ian and Brad associated with CAE. As you mentioned, Ian is a co-founder. He's our former research director. He's currently on the board at CAE. Brad Feld is a member of our advisory council and has been incredibly generous to CAE, both in terms of his enthusiasm, his ideas, his financial support, and so we're very fortunate to have them both. And of course, they're two of the real heavyweights in terms of thinking about entrepreneurship in general, venture capital, and especially startup communities. I think this book, it's called The Startup Community Way, which is something of a follow-up or a sequel to Brad's very famous book, Startup Communities, back in 2012. But I think it goes far beyond. I mean, as important as Startup Communities was, I think that they bring new intellectual depth and rigor to the understanding of startup communities, principally because of something that I think even Brad would acknowledge is principally the contribution of Ian. And this is the laying on top of, the thing that Brad talks about so eloquently in Startup Communities is his Boulder thesis. And I'll let folks read that book to learn about the Boulder thesis. But what Ian brings, and what they really spend a lot of time talking and thinking about in the Startup Community Way, is looking at startup communities as complex systems, and the study of complex systems, their nature, how they operate, how they evolve, their unique needs. And this inevitably leads to a focus that I think is very important in terms of the implications of their analysis on the importance of people in each unique startup community. That's the other important point that they make, is that each startup community is different, is unique in its own way. There are certain things that they aspects, needs, nature that they share. Of course, there are certain general observations that you can make, but each startup community is unique. It's unique to the people who inhabit that startup community, their talents, their expertise, how all the various pieces of that complex system interact with each other. And so I think the real value or contribution of this book, first of all, is understanding how important they are, how fascinating they are, how complex they are, the importance of individuals, the importance of local uniqueness. And that's very, very important. You can't approach them all, with blunt general ideas. And so in terms of the application to where you are, I mean, I think that's going to be, again, it's going to be unique to you and your community, to the unique players, the people, the startups, the entrepreneurs, the local policy people in your community is going to uniquely define the nature of your community and how it evolves and how it can be successful. So Ian has a terrific piece that I would call people's attention to. It's on our website. It's basically 5 policy implications or major policy takeaways of the book for policymakers. Now, he makes clear that the specific application of each one to each community is going to be different, but I think it's a great first primer on the book itself and the major policy implications for local policymakers that comes out of the book, and it's on our website.
That's very great. I will definitely check that out. That sounds fascinating. Our whole team is reading the book right now and asking ourselves that very question. What are we going to take away from this book, and how do we apply this to the work we're trying to do here in North Texas to help entrepreneurs, help them raise more capital, avoid failure, create more jobs, become successful, bring new innovations to market, all those things that we know entrepreneurs do for our economy. How do we help them and kind of wrap our arms around them as a community rather than just, giving them a slap on the back and wishing them good luck. So.
Right. Well, it's incredibly important work that you're doing. and all the more important now as we all deal with the challenge of COVID. So thank you and your colleagues for all the work that you're doing. And I look forward to coming out there as soon as we can. As I mentioned before, my colleagues and I continue to do roundtables around the country because it's the best way of staying in touch with entrepreneurs. We can't wait to get out there.
Outstanding. Well, we'd love to have you. You have an open invitation to come and visit us in Fort Worth, or as we like to call it, Funky Town.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I look forward to it.
Perfect. Well, thanks, John.